Have you ever felt like someone loves you, but they don't even realize it yet? Like there's a glance that lingers just a second longer than it should. A word that slips out when it wasn't meant to. Or a silence that carries the weight of 1,000 unspoken confessions. If you're watching this, chances are you've already sensed something. Let me tell you now. With the conviction of someone who's studied the depths of the human soul, they're more in love with you than they're ready to admit. They just don't know it yet. But there's a sign, a powerful, subtle, universal sign that Carl Jung helped us uncover nearly a century ago. Today, you're going to discover it. Because this isn't just about love. It's about the soul and what hides behind the veil of awareness. Stick around, because this will change how you see every gesture, every word, every hesitation, every failed attempt to pull away. Before we dive in, I'd love for you to write, "I attract love into my life," in the comments below. It'll show me how committed you are to welcoming true love into your world. Let me share a story with you. It's not fiction, it's real. Though the names have been changed, what happened is a mirror of what Jung would call an encounter with the inner other, a reflection of the soul in another person's face. Her name was Clara, a young psychologist, quiet, the kind of person who seems to see the world from a deeper place. She was convinced that her connection with Matteo was just friendship. "He's a colleague," she'd say. "I like him. He's brilliant. But that's it." She said it so often she almost believed it herself. But there was something in the way she talked about him, an unresolved tension, as if her subconscious knew something her mind wasn't ready to face. One day, during a casual conversation, Clara broke, not with sadness or anger, but with a laugh. A laugh that escaped without permission when someone suggested Matteo was in love with her. "Come on," she said nervously. "Matteo doesn't feel that way about me. He doesn't even think of me like that." But Jung would put it plainly. The subconscious speaks through slip-ups, nervous laughs, denials that hide truths. Why did Clara laugh? Because deep in her soul, she knew something was true, and she was scared to face it. This is where deep psychology gives us a powerful tool. Jung taught us that the soul doesn't always hand us the truth directly. It cloaks it in symbols, synchronicities, behaviors that seem random but are actually messages from the subconscious. So, when someone's in love with you but doesn't know it, they don't say it. They show it in other ways, and that revelation, though it seems accidental, follows a rule. What's true in the soul always finds a way to show up in life, no matter how hard someone tries to suppress it. Sooner or later, you'll see it. Here's the first thing to understand. Unconscious love is stronger than conscious love because it doesn't depend on choice. It's not decided, it's revealed, and that's where you come in. Your intuition isn't wrong. There's a reason you feel there's something more. And it's not your imagination, it's perception. It's your subconscious connecting with theirs. Let's go back to Clara. After that conversation, she started noticing things. Matteo wasn't talking to her as much anymore. Sometimes, he seemed to avoid her, but when he looked at her, his eyes lingered for half a second, as if caught between what they wanted and what they were allowed to want. Jung talked about the shadow, everything we don't accept about ourselves, and one of the most common shadows is unacknowledged love. Because loving means vulnerability. It means something inside us opens up, and that's scary. So, what happens when a guy feels that but can't admit it? He hides it, but the soul can't fully lie. That's why the sign you need to look for isn't in what he says, it's in what his body betrays. It's in how his energy shifts when you walk into the room, how his voice softens when he talks to you, how he downplays the connection when someone else brings it up, because he's not ready to face it yet. This isn't just psychology, it's spirituality. Jung said every person who enters our life has a symbolic purpose. Some come as mirrors, others as tests, but a rare few come as doors. When someone becomes a door, everything inside you changes, and that's the real sign, not what he does, but what you feel when you're with him. Do you feel it? That slight flutter in your chest? That moment where time seems to pause for a second? That's not a coincidence. It's an archetypal resonance. Your soul recognizing something your mind hasn't grasped yet. One night, Clara had a dream. She was in an old house filled with books, and there was a man writing with his back to her. When she approached, he vanished, leaving only his notebook. On the last page, it read, "Don't say it yet, I don't know, but I feel it." She woke up with tears in her eyes, not understanding why the dream hit her so hard. Weeks later, unplanned, Matteo looked at her differently. He didn't say anything, just looked, but in his eyes was a silent confession, and that's when she realized the love was already there. He just didn't know how to say it yet. If you've made it this far, I want you to do something. Close your eyes for a moment and think of that person. Don't overthink. Just feel. There's a part of you that already knows what they can't admit yet. If you feel that, trust it. Because the soul knows before the mind. Jung said it best. When two personalities meet, it's like two chemicals mixing. If there's a reaction, both are transformed. And you're already changing, just by feeling it. Now, let's talk about that sign. Because there is one, a clear, unmistakable one, that Jung revealed through the concept of projection. When someone projects their feelings onto you without realizing it, they start acting in contradictory ways. Sometimes they pull away for no reason. Sometimes they seem annoyed without cause. But here's the big clue. They start seeing you as someone too important. They won't say it in those words, but you'll feel it in their unease, their need to hold back when they're near you, their silences, their half-finished sentences, because projecting unacknowledged love creates anxiety, and you can feel that anxiety. They're in love, but they don't know it yet, because their ego isn't ready to let go. Yet the soul keeps pushing, slipping through the cracks, sometimes, in a seemingly casual conversation. Something slips out, a shared memory, a phrase that seems innocent but reveals more than it should. Jung said the symbol is the language of the soul, and unspoken love speaks in symbols, in small but meaningful gestures. Have you noticed them saying your name differently? Remembering details others forget? Shifting their posture when they see you? None of that is random. I want you to see this as a dance between the conscious and the unconscious, between the soul that feels and the ego that fears. Don't push them. Don't confront them. Just watch. Because the soul speaks when it feels safe, and you can be that safe space. But first, you have to trust your instincts. Not because you read it somewhere, not because someone told you, but because your body already knows. That's the first big lesson from Jung. The body doesn't lie. When someone loves you from their soul, their body will show it before their words do. There's a frequency in their gaze, a tremor in their voice, a pause that wasn't there before. That's what you need to look for. That's the sign. In the next part, I'll walk you through the 3 key moments when their unconscious starts revealing what their mind still denies. These are moments Jung identified in hundreds of analyses, patterns that show up in nearly every case of deep, unacknowledged love. But for now, hold on to this. If you feel they're more in love with you than they realize, you're probably right. Because the soul never lies, it only whispers, and you've learned to listen. When Carl Jung studied the depths of the soul, he discovered something extraordinary. The biggest emotional shifts, the ones that truly change us, don't start on the surface. They don't show up in obvious words or loud actions. They begin in the shadows, in subtle gestures, in moments that seem insignificant, but reveal powerful truths when you pay attention. And one of those shifts, perhaps the most intense, is unacknowledged love. Picture this: you're talking with that person. Everything seems normal. You're laughing, chatting. But then you say something, and their face changes. It's not dramatic. Just a micro-expression, a pause, a slower blink, a slight turn of their gaze. That's the first key moment Jung talked about. Emotional dissonance. What is it? It's the moment when their unconscious wants to say, "I love you," but their ego won't let it. It creates a short circuit, and you feel it. Let's go back to Clara's story. Days after that revealing dream, she was having coffee with Matteo on an ordinary afternoon. They talked about everything: psychology, patience, books, the weather. But in the middle of a sentence, she looked him in the eyes and said, unthinking, "Sometimes I feel like we've known each other before." It was a spontaneous comment, no agenda behind it. But he froze, looked down, laughed nervously, and awkwardly changed the subject. Clara didn't understand what happened in that moment, but her body felt it. That was emotional dissonance. Jung said that when something in the unconscious wants to surface but the ego resists, it creates tension. That tension always leaks out somehow, and that's where you can see more than they can say, because in that moment, their soul stepped forward, but their rational self pulled back. That first moment is crucial, and if you've experienced it, you're probably closer to the truth than you think. The second key moment is even more telling. It's called paradoxical withdrawal. It's when they start pulling away, right when they feel the most. They might suddenly talk to you less, text less, avoid seeing you. But it's not because they don't care. It's because they care too much. Jung explained this with striking precision. When the soul can't process what it loves, it reacts with defense. And one of the oldest defenses is distance. This happened to Clara. After that coffee, Matteo started to change. He didn't reach out like he used to, seemed colder, even distant. But when they were together, his gestures screamed something else. She started to doubt herself. Did I imagine it all? She thought. Maybe it was just my wishful thinking. But then something unexpected happened. They were at a work meeting. She shared an idea, and someone cut her off dismissively. In that instant, Matteo reacted with an intensity that shocked everyone, defending her passionately, too passionately for just a colleague. That was the second moment. Paradoxical withdrawal. When unconscious love can't stay close but also can't bear to see you hurt, it contradicts itself. They pull away, yet they protect you, care for you, stay aware of you. You see it in their actions, not their words. Have you noticed them pulling back, but still showing up when you're hurting? Not reaching out, but somehow knowing when you need support? That's a clear sign, because no one contradicts themselves as much as someone who loves without knowing it. And when that happens, the soul starts speaking louder. Now we come to the third moment, perhaps the most powerful of all. Jung called it symbolic eruption. It's when the unconscious can't hold back anymore and starts to project. It shows up in strange, sometimes surreal ways. They might talk about you to others, dream about you, mention you for no reason. Sometimes they even seem irritated without cause, like they're wrestling with an internal conflict they don't understand. Because that's exactly what's happening. Their soul chose you, but their mind doesn't know how to handle it. One day, Clara got an unexpected message from a mutual friend. She said, "I don't know if you realized, but Matteo mentions you in almost every conversation lately, always ending with how you're complicated. But you can see in his eyes there's something more." Clara went quiet, feeling a rush inside, like everything she'd sensed was starting to take shape. It wasn't just a feeling anymore. It was a sign. That's the moment the soul starts to show itself. Jung said symbols appear when we can't name the truth directly. And in this case, the symbol was contradiction. Calling her complicated when she was really significant. Talking about her constantly, but avoiding her in person. Dreaming of her but not texting. Those are symbolic eruptions. If you've noticed something similar, if someone avoids you but can't stop thinking about you, you're seeing the sign. None of this is random. It's part of a deep process. Jung taught us that the soul moves in a spiral. It denies, it stirs, and finally, it reveals. But it does so on its own timeline. You can't force that revelation or push someone to wake up before their soul is ready. All you can do is observe and trust. Here's something else to know. In this kind of love, the language is different. It's not "I love you," it's "How are you" in a softer voice. It's "Take care" with a look that lingers a little longer. It's in the body, the gestures, the silences. Because when the soul can't speak yet, it whispers. And if you're paying attention, you can hear those whispers. Jung linked many of these behaviors to the process of individuation, the journey to becoming your true self. Sometimes, love is the spark that starts that journey. Because when we love, we see ourselves reflected in the other, and that scares us. What happens if we're not ready for that reflection? We avoid it, but the image is already etched in the soul, and it always comes back. Now, I want you to do an exercise. Think back to the last moments you spent with them. Don't look for the obvious. Look for the subtle. Was there a pause in their voice when they said your name? A tension in their jaw when you mentioned someone else? A shift in their body when you got close? Those are the cracks where unconscious love slips through. And if you know how to look, you'll see the sign. The most beautiful and painful thing about this kind of love is that it can't be controlled. You can't force it, can't demand they wake up. It can only be presence. And often, that's enough. Because a soul that loves, even if it denies it, always feels safe around you. And when someone feels safe, they slowly lower their guard. And when they do, the love starts to speak. In the next part, we'll talk about your role in all this. Because this connection doesn't just reveal something about them. It reveals something about you. And if they're more in love with you than they know, you might be more in love than you realize too. We'll explore how your energy triggers this reaction and how you can hold space for the process without losing yourself in it. Because deep love, soul-level love, is also a path to self-discovery, and you've already started walking it. Before we go on, I want to ask you something from the heart. If this video is stirring something deep inside you, if you're living or have lived a connection like this, please leave a comment below. Share how you're feeling. If you've ever met someone who loved you quietly, who couldn't acknowledge it, but whose soul spoke to you in other ways, your story might resonate with someone else. And if you know someone going through this, share this video with them. Sometimes, a small sign is all someone needs to know they're not alone. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button now. Because here we explore the truths the soul whispers, but few dare to say out loud. Now, let's get back to that sacred moment. In the last part, we talked about the signs they leave without knowing, but today, we're talking about you. Because if they're more in love with you than they realize, it's because you awakened something dormant inside them. And that's no small thing. It's one of the most mysterious missions a soul can fulfill. Jung spoke of a powerful archetype, the anima and animus. The anima is the feminine within a man, the animus the masculine within a woman. When someone stirs these forces in another, it's not just attraction or chemistry, it's an inner revolution, a spiritual shakeup, a mirror showing what was hidden. Clara, our protagonist, started to change too. The closer she got emotionally to Matteo, the more she felt she was finding herself. It wasn't just that she cared for him, he was, without knowing it, leading her to inner places she'd never explored, not through what he said, but through what he sparked in her. She started dreaming more, writing again, feeling her soul come alive, and then she got it. This wasn't just any love. It was an archetypal awakening. This is key for you to understand. When a connection like this happens, you both become living symbols for each other. You're not just someone they know. You're an inner image their soul was waiting for. Without realizing it, you're the external expression of their anima. That's why, when they see you, they don't just see your face. They see a part of themselves they'd forgotten, and that throws them off balance. Here's the delicate part. When you awaken someone else's soul, your own shadow wakes up too, because everything you touch in them starts moving in you as well. Clara noticed that after meeting Matteo, she felt a strange mix of euphoria and emptiness, hope and anxiety. That wasn't random. It was the collision of her light and her shadow. Carl Jung put it with brutal clarity. You can't touch someone's soul without touching your own darkness. Because deep love is alchemical. It burns away what no longer serves, tears down the ego's walls, and that, while beautiful, hurts a lot. That's why you sometimes feel confused, happy to see them but sad afterward, full of love but also fear. It's because you're crossing the bridge between your ego and your soul, being initiated, without knowing it, into a spiritual process few dare to walk. This is where your role becomes vital. You can turn this experience into one of two things: suffering or wisdom. The key is to stop expecting something from them and start noticing what's happening inside you. Ask yourself, why did I choose them? What parts of me come alive in their presence? Who am I when I'm with them? And who am I when they're gone? These aren't simple questions, they're keys, because if they're a mirror, what you reflect belongs to you too. And here's where a quiet miracle happens. You start finding yourself through the other. That's the true alchemy of the soul. Let me tell you something else about Clara. One night, feeling especially vulnerable, she started writing, not to Matteo, but for herself. She wrote about her childhood, her fears, how she'd always idealized distant men, and then it clicked. Matteo wasn't just Matteo. He was a symbol of a wound she'd carried since childhood, a wound of not being seen, not being chosen, not being named out loud. She realized he couldn't say, "I love you," because his soul was trapped. But she couldn't stop needing that declaration either, because deep down, both their souls were speaking from wounds begging to be healed. Jung would say, this isn't coincidence, it's destiny. The soul calls to those who can help us remember, even if it hurts, even if they leave, even if they can't stay. And then comes a choice. Do you cling to them, hoping they'll change, Or do you use this encounter as a doorway to yourself? Clara chose the second. It wasn't easy. She cried, got angry, felt alone, but deep down, she began to bloom. Because by looking inward instead of outward, she found what she'd been searching for. And then, only then, did Matteo show up again, with a different energy. Less fear, more presence. Why? Because the soul responds when you stop chasing. Because true love isn't a hunt, it's a resonance. You're not here by chance. This video found you because you already knew. Because someone, now or in the past, stirred your soul beyond words. And that movement, though misunderstood, was real. Now you have to decide what to do with that truth. Will you keep waiting for an external sign, or will you start listening to the sign already vibrating inside you? Remember, you're not just the object of their unconscious love. You're a symbol for yourself, too. A reminder of what you're capable of sparking, of awakening. And that power, if you embrace it, transforms you. In the next part, we'll tackle something many avoid. What if that person never acknowledges it? What if they never say it? Can you close the cycle without them waking up? Can there be fulfillment in an unspoken love? The answer will surprise you, because, as Jung said, what isn't made conscious manifests as fate. And today, you're taking the power to make conscious what once controlled you silently. You're waking up. When someone touches your soul but never says it, when they look at you like they know everything but stay quiet, your soul feels suspended, like part of you is on pause, waiting for a phrase, a certainty, an ending that never comes. And what hurts isn't just their silence, it's what you've told yourself while waiting. But today, I invite you to see this from a new angle. Not from the wound, but from the symbol. Because, as Jung taught, every experience has a meaning beyond the surface. If someone came into your life, shook your heart, and then left, maybe they weren't meant to stay. Maybe they were meant to wake you up. Imagine this. You're in a dark forest, and someone passes by with a flashlight. They don't stop, don't speak. Just shine a light on the path ahead for a moment and move on. Do you get mad that they left? Or do you thank them for showing you what you couldn't see before? That's how many soul connections work. They don't come to stay. They come to point you toward a path, to show you a part of yourself that was asleep, to light a fire inside you that now belongs only to you. Clara figured this out one afternoon, sitting alone with her coffee. Matteo hadn't texted her back, and though there were moments of sadness, she felt something new, peace. Not because he'd changed, but because she'd returned to herself. She stopped asking for answers and started listening to her own. And in that silence, she realized love doesn't always need to be returned to be real, because the soul doesn't measure love in declarations. It measures it in transformation. And if you've changed because of this connection, then it was real. It was enough. Because the soul didn't come to this world to collect promises. It came to grow. So, can you close a cycle without them acknowledging it? Yes. Not only can you must. Because if you wait for them to wake up to heal, you're giving away your power, letting someone else control your growth. And from Jung's perspective, that's staying stuck in the shadow. The only way to release an unresolved bond is by integrating it within you. How? By recognizing what they awakened in you. Write, meditate, talk, but don't focus on them. Focus on what you felt, what it revealed about your story, the emotions it stirred. Accept that their role might have been symbolic, not physical. Sometimes a person represents something, a missing parent, unconditional love, the validation you never had. When you see that, you stop viewing them as the perfect partner and start seeing them as the messenger. Reclaim what you projected onto them. Jung said projection is one of the biggest challenges of an unindividuated soul. What you see in them is often what you're not yet recognizing in yourself. You thought they were wise? Maybe it's your own wisdom emerging. You saw them as full of light? Maybe it's your own light you're starting to see, but aren't ready to claim. When you do this, a miracle happens. The bond transforms. You no longer need them to say, "I love you," because you tell yourself, "I love myself for what I was able to feel, for loving without guarantees, for opening my heart even if it wasn't returned." And in that moment, the cycle closes, not because they changed, but because you woke up. And let me tell you something. When a woman wakes up, everything around her feels it. They'll sense it. Even if they don't understand why they're suddenly thinking of you, dreaming of you, feeling like something's unfinished, that's their soul speaking. Because everything built in the invisible realm resonates with them, even if their mind can't grasp it. And here's the most beautiful part. When you heal this bond within you, you make room for an even deeper connection, because you'll no longer be looking for someone to prove your worth. You'll know it. You won't need someone to tell you who you are. You'll live it, and from that truth, you'll attract a love that doesn't come to complete you, but to walk with you. That's true conscious love, not the kind that fills voids, but the kind that celebrates wholeness. Clara, later on, met someone else. Someone completely different, more present, more open. And when she thought of Matteo, she didn't feel pain anymore, only gratitude, because he'd been the bridge, not the destination, and realizing that was her freedom. So let me ask you, what if that person who couldn't love you was actually the messenger of your awakening? What if that connection that felt like a punishment was really the start of your transformation? Because, as Carl Jung said, we don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious, and you, by daring to feel, to love, to let go, are becoming enlightened. So right now, in this moment, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and say to yourself, "I lived it, I felt it, I let it go, and now I choose myself." Because yes, they might be more in love with you than they know, but you are closer to yourself than you've ever been. And that changes everything. If you've made it this far, it's because something in you resonated with every word, every symbol, every shadow that's been illuminated on this journey. It's not a coincidence. The soul recognizes truth, even when the ego denies it. You might not have all the answers yet. They might never say what you felt so clearly, but that doesn't matter anymore. Because what's truly sacred doesn't need explaining, it just needs to be lived, and you've lived it. Now it's your moment to take that experience, embrace it, turn it into wisdom, and move forward with new strength. Because it's not about them choosing you, it's about you choosing yourself over and over, until every part of you, including the wounds, knows it doesn't need saving, only loving. And if this video helped you see things in a new light, share it with someone who needs this truth. You might be the flashlight that lights the way for another heart. Drop a comment below. Tell me what part hit you the hardest, what story you've lived, what you discovered about yourself. I want to read you, because this isn't just a channel. It's a space where souls wake up together. And always remember, the soul never gets it wrong. It just needs you to finally listen. I'll see you on the next journey.